This is a video that I am producing to show how to use Quicken. I'm using Quicken 2012 Deluxe. Not the real estate Quicken, not the investor's Quicken, just a basic, well, slightly more than basic version of Quicken 2012. And I'm going to show how, by setting up tags for each property that you own, how by doing that you can produce reports from Quicken that are all you really need to keep track of your income and expenses from real estate and to file your taxes. Oh, by the way, I don't think it's anybody's business what my net worth is. So even though these individual transactions, here's one that I paid to a gardener who comes a couple of times a month at this golf test property to take care of the grounds. Even though that's an actual true expense, the balances over here are not real. I have made myself very wealthy here in these several accounts. You can see that I've got several tens of thousands of dollars in that account and several other tens of thousands of dollars in that account and so forth. That's not real. Now, in this version of Quicken, I have several checking accounts with which I pay expenses and into which I put income from real estate holdings. I have one at Chase, JP Morgan Chase, which is a joint account with my daughter, who is the trustee of my revocable living trust. I have a joint account with my wife. I have a separate account of my own, which is where I do most of my real estate transactions. And I have a separate account that is joint with my son and his wife for a vacation rental that the three of us own on Kauai. So let's go to the account where I do most of my real estate banking. And here you can see the different tags. Here's a property I own in Hillcrest in San Diego. Here is a property I own in Penasquitos in San Diego. Here's one on Gulf Crest Drive. And here is the house that I'm sitting in Kailua on Oahu on Awakea Road. And I've picked those tags for each of the properties. And that's what allows me to separate the expenses and the income from each of these properties and produce detailed information for just one particular property for one particular year, which I use when filing my taxes. The other thing you need to do in Quicken when you set this up is to set up categories here. This is a category place for each check that correspond with the expense classifications that you'll find on Schedule E, the real estate schedule, when you file your taxes. Let me give you some examples. You need to have an expense for cleaning and maintenance. That's one of the largest categories. When a cleaning lady comes in to clean after a guest leaves a vacation rental, that's where that expense goes. You of course need one for Repairs. These are income. Here are the expenses alphabetically. Here are repairs. You need one for supplies. You need all the various taxes, federal, city. In Hawaii, there's a thing called the general excise tax, and there's the transient accommodations tax in Hawaii. And you need all the utilities, cable, electric, gas, trash, water, etc. And when you set all those up properly and you have your tags set up properly, then you can produce reports, which is what you need at tax time. Now, assuming that you have set up all your individual transactions, however you pay them, whether you write a check or whether you do it online or use Quicken bill pay, you keep track of every expense. Here's one for pool service at the Golf Crest property. You keep track of every expense through the year. So how do you get the report you need to do your taxes? Well, you go up here to Reports. You click there and you go down to the Reports and Graphs Center. And when that comes up, you go to the banking subsection and use this transaction type of report. Let me show you what the net result of that is after you get through massaging it, and then we'll go and massage one in particular. Each year, I have produced a set of expenses by category for each property. There's one for Awakea. I have one for charitable contributions as well, for deductions, because I itemize. Here's one for Golf Crest for each year, 2010, 11, 12, and 13. Here's one for the Hillcrest property. And I keep track of my mileage using a separate account when I use a vehicle to visit one of these properties. And here's the one for Penasquitos, etc. But how do we get there? Well, as I said, you go to Quicken Standard Reports and you click Transaction. And then you pick the date that you want. It comes up automatically on earliest to date. But what I really want is last year, January 1st, 2013 to December 31st. Then I need to customize the report. And you have to go through here and pick each one of these tabs and select what you want in each one of those tabs. It's a transaction title, and you want to subtotal it by category, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking to see how much did you spend for that property for utilities, for example, and again for cleaning and maintenance. So that's what you do in the display. For accounts, there are all sorts of accounts that I have set up in Quicken, that some of which are not banking accounts or real accounts. As I said, I have one for just mileage. So I clear all of these and I just put a check mark in the boxes of those accounts that are real accounts where I can actually spend something on these properties, those 4 accounts. Then I go to categories and I have them all, and you can click select all just to make sure. You go to payees and that's all. But when you get to tags, you clear all, and then you pick the property that you are going to produce a report for taxes. Let's pick Golf Crest. You put a check mark there. And now you click Show Report. And you see that we have transactions last year for everything that has GC in the tagline, subtotaled by individual categories. Here's the rent income, and then subtotaled by individual expense categories: cleaning and maintenance, appliance rental. I had a refrigerator that died, and I had to rent a refrigerator for the tenant for a month or so until I decided what I was going to do. Here's insurance payments, supplies, taxes, telephone charges, utilities. I only pay the water on this property, and it's billed every 2 months. So you have a total for each one of these items, and you can transfer those over to the appropriate line on Schedule E, and it makes doing your taxes very easy. You can then go back to this report that you've set up and change the title to Golf Crest Income and Expenses 2013. Whoops. 2013, and click OK for that. And now we see that it has an appropriate title other than just plain transactions. That's really it. I find Quicken to make my life much easier as far at tax time than it would be without it. I hope this helps.